Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our live coverage of United Launch Alliance's Atlas V rocket for Amazon on Kuiper 1 mission, also known as KA-01 for Kuiper Atlas 1. Hope you all are doing fine and excited about the upcoming launch. And if it's your first time here, hi, my name is Dipto Mitra. I'll be your friend and host providing commentary for today's mission launch. And you are watching AstroYonder live.
Roger, 0G, and I feel fine. Capsule is turning around.
Houston, we see a nominal MECO. Welcome to space.
Today's launch marks the Project Kuiper's first full-scale, full operational satellite launch. We are awaiting for a United Launch Alliance Atlas V in its 551 configuration rocket launch for Amazon's Project Kuiper. From Space Launch Complex 41 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida, within a 2-hour launch window between 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Daytime on April 9th, that is today. Currently, ULA is targeting a liftoff time of 7 p.m. Eastern Daytime, that is 23 hours UTC. Well, just to give you a quick update, although you guys might be knowing that the prevailing weather there at the Cape Canaveral right now is not so much favorable, and just nearly 5 minutes ago ULA gave an update that there is an 80% chance of weather rule violations for launch window tonight, which was previously 55% as stated by 45th Weather Squadron. Now, just a heads up, I will be giving real-time updates during the stream about the mission, so keep an ear out for what I'm saying to know the latest position of the launch. Project Kuiper payload of 27 satellite will be the heaviest payload ULA's Atlas V rocket has ever flown, and to accommodate it, ULA will launch the Atlas V in its most powerful configuration, that is the 551 variant of the Atlas V 500 series. We will break down the rocket's configuration for you and learn more about the rocket shortly. Now, for those who are new to this, Project Kuiper is Amazon's low Earth orbit satellite broadband network similar to SpaceX's Starlink mega constellation. Its mission is to just a second, this stream element comment. Well, yes, fine. So Project Kuiper's mission is to provide fast, reliable internet to the customers around the world using a first generation satellite constellation of more than 3,200 advanced low Earth orbit satellites, or to be precise, it's 3,236 satellites. The satellites are projected to be placed in 98 orbital planes in just a second. It's working fine. Why it crashed? The satellites are projected to be placed in 98 orbital planes in 3 orbital layers, one at 590 kilometers, 610 kilometers, and lastly is the 630 kilometers of altitude. Now, Amazon is expecting to begin delivering the service to the customers later this year, and the company has secured more 80 launches to deploy that initial constellation of 3,236 satellites. Over the next few years, Kuiper and ULA team will conduct 7 more Atlas V launches and 38 launches on ULA's larger Vulcan Centaur rocket. So that's 46 for ULA, and the remaining 34 launches are planned across other launch providers, Arianespace, Blue Origin, and SpaceX. But personally, I feel that it's a bit critical considering the current launch cadence conditions for all launch service providers except SpaceX, which, as we know, is doing an excellent job. But it's just my personal opinion without any proclivity or bias towards any of the mentioned service providers. Now let's rewind to see how the mission geared up. ULA began preparation for the Kuiper 1 launch on February 24th by standing up the Atlas V first stage on board the mobile launch platform at the vertical integration facility located adjacent to the Space Launch Complex 41 pad, and the subsequent days saw the full complement of the 5 side mounted solid rocket boosters, also known as SRBs. Right now on your screen, you can see the common core booster to be hoisted up. And sooner this, as you can see right now on your screen, these are the SRBs affixed to the Atlas to provide the maximum launch performance. The center upper stage, which will carry the payload into the prescribed orbit, was lifted into the vertical integration facility on March 14th. Kuiper 1 marks the 250th Centaur launch atop an Atlas rocket and the 275th flight overall for the upper stage. Now, while the rocket stacking activities were ongoing, Amazon technicians were installing the satellites, as we saw, on a specialized dispenser system inside Project Kuiper's satellite processing facility at the Kennedy Space Center. Once the craft was all set in place, the Atlas V's composite payload fairing enclosed Kuiper 1 for its historic journey. On March 31, ULA transported the Kuiper 1 from the satellite processing facility to the vertical integration facility, where it became one of the heaviest payload ever hoisted atop an Atlas rocket. Standing 205 feet, that is 62.5 meter tall, the fully assembled Atlas V rocket features a longer, well, it is a longer, no, it is a medium length payload fairing that's standard to carry as many satellites as possible. This will be the 9th time in 102 launches of Atlas V to use the larger fairing. Atlas V with 551 configuration weighing 1.3 million pounds once fueled for launch generates a combined thrust of 2.7 billion pounds, that is 12 meganewtons for its main engine and its 5 solid rocket boosters. The rocket will embark on a northeasterly trajectory, and onboard guidance will target a near circular low Earth orbit of approximately 280 miles with an inclination of 51.9 degrees. Now, I guess we are 12 minutes away from the webcast to begin, so let's just quickly familiarize with the Atlas V variants. Atlas V is having two variants with the 400 series and the 500 series. For 400 series, which uses a 400-meter fairing, includes models like 401 with no SRBs and single RL10 engine, to 431 ranging from 0 to 3 SRBs. The payload capacity for 400 series to low Earth orbit is 15,260 kilograms, and to geotransfer orbit it's 7,700 kilograms. Now coming to the 500. Please excuse me. Now coming to the 500 series, which is the one we will be having to see a launch of. Uses a 5-meter fairing for larger payloads, includes models like 551, just like today's one, ranging from 0 to 5 SRBs, that is solid rocket boosters, boosting capacity to low Earth orbit is approximately 18,850 kilograms, and to geotransfer orbit it's 8,900 kilograms. Well, there is another variant, that is a heavy lift variant, proposed Atlas 5 with 3 common core booster, was never flown but could have lifted 29,400 kilograms to low Earth orbit. Now over 100 launches with a near perfect reliability record with 2 partial failures in 2007 and 2016. ULA have made it to Atlas 5 to work as a workhorse for them. Now just for a quick reference, now how these configurations of the ULA Atlas 5 naming convention is. Now the first digit represents the diameter of the payload fairing in meters. Options are 4 for the 400 series and 5 for the 500 series, accommodating different payload sizes. Second digit indicates the number of strap-on solid rocket boosters, that is the SRBs, attached to the common core booster, and this ranges from 0 to 3 for the 400 series and 0 to 5 for the 500 series, boosting thrust as needed. Now the third digit specifies the number of RL10 engines on the Centaur upper stage, either one single engine Centaur or two, which is dual engine Centaur, affecting payload capacity and the orbit insertion precision. Now for an example, if an Atlas 5 rocket variant will be having a 401 configuration, then from the naming convention you can understand it's a 4-meter payload fairing with 0 SRBs and 1 Centaur engine used for the lighter payload like the Mars InSight mission. And just of today's case, already explained, 5-meter payload fairing with 5 solid rocket boosters, 1 Centaur engine, the most powerful variant of the Atlas 5 rocket, capable of lifting up to 18,814 kilograms to low Earth orbit, as seen previously in the Juno mission to Jupiter. Now I'm just skipping for a while. Let's see if they will be delaying the launch. They made it 5 minutes earlier, so we are 8 minutes away from the webcast to begin. So let me just quickly give you the flight profile. Well, following the final confirmation of the rocket readiness from the mission control team, the RD-180 engine on the first stage and the 5 GEM-63 solid rocket boosters will ignite to produce more than 2 million pounds of thrust, lifting ULA's Atlas V rocket. Shortly after liftoff, the rocket begins a pitch over to attain the proper flight path while maintaining the dynamic pressure it experiences during flight, also known as max Q. Atlas then reaches the Mach 1 faster than the speed of sound. The addition of the 5 solid rocket boosters or the SRBs precisely augment the liftoff thrust of the Atlas V, giving it the power to deliver the payload to orbit. With their propellant expired approximately 96 seconds into the ascent, the SRBs, as we saw, will burn out followed by the jettison. Amazon Kuiper satellites are encapsulated inside the 5-meter payload fairing. After crossing the Kármán line and entering the space, the payload fairing will be jettisoned. Now, with the majority of the propellant expended, fighting against the force of gravity, the RD-180 engine shut down and the booster stage separates. The rocket then begins the second stage flight, weighing less than 7% of what it did at liftoff. ULA's high-performance Centaur with its RL-10 engine ignites, powering its upper stage and the spacecraft into the circular low Earth orbit, approximately 280 miles with 51.9 degrees inclination. The first burn comes to an end with engine shutdown, followed by Centaur orienting into the proper position to release Amazon's Project Kuiper satellites. Once the satellites have successfully separated from the rocket, they will begin a series of mostly automated steps to activate onboard systems and use their electric propulsion systems to gradually ascend to their assigned orbit of 392 miles, that is 630 kilometers. The satellite will travel at a speed of more than 17,000 miles per hour on orbit and circle the planet approximately 90 minutes. So you can say it's similar to the speed of the ISS. Now, while Starlink operates at approximately 550 kilometers, Kuiper satellites will orbit slightly higher, as mentioned, at 630 kilometers. But as I mentioned, they will be having 8 orbital planes to deploy their constellation. So the lowest one is the (590 kilometers). So you can say it's just close to the Starlink satellites constellation. Now we are just 4 minutes and 9 seconds away from, well, I forgot to make the timer. Please excuse me for that. Yes, so we are just less than 4 minutes, so let's just quickly look into some of the stats. For today's launch, it will be the ULA's 160th overall launch and their first of 2025. This will also mark the 93rd Atlas V launch to date and the first of 2025. Additionally, it will be the 102nd Atlas V launch overall and the second ULA mission dedicated to Amazon's Project Kuiper, making it the first operational satellite deployment for that project. The launch is set to take off from Space Launch Complex 41, also known as Slick 41, which will make it ULA's 84th orbital launch from that pad and the 113th orbital launch from Space Launch Complex 41 overall. It's going to be incredible to see how these numbers come together, highlighting how how active and dependable ULA has been with the Atlas V. Now, prior to today's launch, Atlas V has completed 101 launches. Its most recent launch was the USSF-51 National Security Launch Mission on 30th of July in 2024, marking its second and final flight of last year. Earlier, it supported the Starliner crew flight on June 5th, which unfolded with unexpected twists and turns, as we know. Now, with today's launch of the Kuiper-1 mission, also known as the Kuiper Atlas 1, ULA's Atlas V will mark its first launch of the year and the 102nd Atlas V launch overall. Now, moving on to this year's orbital launches, including today's one. With this 74th orbital launch of the year, United States is leading with 47 launches, followed by China with 18 launches, Russia with 5 launches, 1 launch each by India, Japan, and Europe with 2 launches. And this pie chart showing 2025 orbital launches by rocket variations, including today's launch. Now, unfortunately, we fell short of time, so we could not explain a little bit or going deep down into the vehicle details. And right now, I think they will be starting the webcast. As of now, they are passing, as we are passing launch T minus 35 minutes. Less than that, we will be getting a full weather briefing a short time from now. But once again, just a reminder, now we are standing with 20% favorable launch conditions for today's launch tonight. Adding value to your viewing experience is our top priority. If you feel we somewhat achieved that, please consider liking this video. It really helps YouTube's algorithm bring in more space fans and helps others to find out this stream. Also consider subscribing to our channel as we work hard to bring you stream packed with stats, details and insights. And we would be incredibly grateful for your support. And would like to thank Carlos Ospina for subscribing to us and supporting us, and I hope that we will be able to meet your expectations for the upcoming launches and during this launch as well, Carlos. Also, we expect that you will be enjoying the stream. Just a request to you for you guys. We would love it to know that from where you guys are tuning in, and would love to hear more from you. So if you are not shy enough, then please try to indulge on the chat. Now we are waiting for the webcast to begin. Well, so the webcast has started, so let's move ahead to the webcast page, and let me just set up the webcast for you. Would like to welcome Big D joining us here on the chat. Big D, thanks for tuning in, and we are glad that you love the insights. And unfortunately, due to some hiccups I faced with my system, I couldn't make it at the intended time at more 10 minutes earlier for this stream to begin, so that I could have been given a little more details about the vehicle and its stages. While but As we are waiting for the webcast to begin, we can do so right now. Just that I won't be able to show the slides I prepared for you guys to have a better understanding. But let me just quickly go down to the in a rough way uh, for the vehicle of Atlas V. On the top, as we know, is the payload fairing. The spacecraft rides, and yes, today now what I'm saying about the Atlas V rocket variation is based on today's mission. So these details are a little bit different in different configurations. So the spacecraft rides inside a 17.7 foot, that is 5.4 meter wide medium payload fairing. It's built from a sandwich style composite with a vented aluminum honeycomb and graphite epoxy layers. This two-piece shell wraps both the Centaur's stage and the satellites, bringing the rocket's total height to about 205 feet, that is 62.5 meters, with this 5-meter fairing. In general, the Atlas V payload fairings, as I mentioned before, are configurable to fit a variety of spacecraft. Both 4-meter and 5-meter variants are available, each in 3 different lengths. The 4-meter payload fairing is a metallic design, and the 5-meter payload fairing is a carbon composite bisector design. And for today, the payload fairing is being manufactured by the ULA partner Beyond Gravity. And the Beyond Gravity is the space-oriented segment of the Swiss technology group RUAG, R-U-A-G. Now coming down, we have the Centaur upper stage. The Centaur's second stage is 10 feet, 3 meters wide and 41.5 feet, 12.6 meter long. Its pressure stabilized tanks are made of tough corrosion resistant stainless steel to keep the cryogenic tanks chilled. It uses helium purged blankets, radiation shields, and spray on foam insulations. Running on the liquid hydrogen and oxygen, it's powered by an RL-10A 4-2 engine. That's a variant of RL-10A, which pumps out 22,600 pounds of thrust, that is 100.5 kilonewtons of thrust. And the RL-10 engines are manufactured by Aerojet Rocketdyne and L3 Harris Technologies company. Now let's move on. Let me patch in the audio for you guys. Well, they are playing some copyrighted music, so right now I can't patch in the audio. Let the normal Capcom to come. I will be patching the audio for you guys.
Good evening and welcome to live coverage of ULA's Atlas V launch of Amazon's inaugural Project Kuiper mission. I'm Caleb Weiss, a systems engineer at ULA, and I'm joined by Britt Porcelli, a propulsion engineer. Great to be with you tonight, Britt.
Thanks, Caleb. What an awesome day to be here at. We're joining you live from ULA's Advanced Spaceflights Operations Center here at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. Liftoff is scheduled for 7 p.m. Eastern at the opening of today's 2-hour launch window. Launch windows vary by mission and are determined by the payload's destination. Today's mission is going to low Earth orbit, or LEO as we refer to it, and has multiple orbit insertion opportunities. So for today's flight, if the rocket and the payload are ready, and if weather permits, we'll have a liftoff of Atlas at 7 p.m.
And Britt, that's great to hear that we have a 2-hour window. You and I have both been on console a lot. Sometimes we have missions with really short windows or even instantaneous. So to know that we have a couple extra hours to work through any issues, if there are any, is a great place to be with this launch window tonight. So we'll be covering today's mission through the start of the second stage first engine burn. For additional real-time mission coverage, follow along with our live blog at ulalaunch.com. And if you enjoy watching our live broadcasts, which who doesn't like watching rocket launches, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for access to future missions, launch highlights, and behind-the-scenes rocket content.
At this time, the team is working.
Well, just to interrupt you guys, once again to remind you, I will be keeping an eye on the live updates. Well,
certainly a lot to talk about from a weather perspective tonight here on the Space Coast of Florida. So here's what we're dealing with right now. Here's a live look at satellite with radar data overlaid on top of it. Notice there are these showers that are off the coast. This is thanks to this area of low pressure that's spitting off the Atlantic coast. And notice this convergent band of showers that's kind of setting up and moving right over us. Now, the good news is that this band has pushed a little bit further to the east than the last few hours, but we are currently violating the cumulus cloud rule. So that is because there are some of these showers that are embedded within this band right here that when they get tall enough, there is actually a standoff distance. So it doesn't have to be raining directly at the pad, and that's because they could be electrified, and that's one of our lightning launch commit criteria to prevent natural and rocket triggered lightning strikes. So again, we are no-go for the cumulus cloud rule. But the other issue that we're monitoring as well, in addition to the showers and the cumulus cloud rule, is the wind situation. So that low is bringing in some pretty strong winds coming from the north along the coast here, and you can see these red numbers here. So this is gusts in miles per hour. So currently we're seeing gusts near the pad here in the low 30s miles per hour. So we're monitoring that situation. It has come down a little bit in the last couple of hours, but still elevated right now. So we're getting the showers and the associated strong winds associated with this low that is sitting off the coast. So we're going to need the showers to push a little bit farther to the east, and we're also going to need these winds to come down as the evening progresses. So some of the model guidance is indicating that the winds are going to come down a little bit, so that's what the launch weather team is going to be monitoring. Currently, our probability of violation is 80% at the opening of the window and trending down to 60% as we go towards the ends of that 2-hour launch window. So not saying that there isn't any hope, and if there is a window of favorable weather, the launch weather team is going to find it. Guys, back to you.
All right, thank you, Brian. They certainly will find it if we can.
so currently we are no-go for violating the cumulus cloud rule, and as per the weather forecast, as we just heard, it will be the probability of violation as of now it is 80%. It will be getting down to 60% once again, which was previously stated 55%. So still we will be having 5% increase over that previous forecast from 45th Weather Squadron. Now, what I was just going to mention, and sorry you guys to interrupt you in between, that I'll be keeping an eye on the website of the ULA to have a real-time updates during the stream about the mission. So keep an ear out of what I'm saying so that you can catch up with the real-time events. Now enjoy the stream.
LD on one. Yes, LD. I'm working a couple of issues. I recommend extending the hold at T-4 minutes. We're going to delay dropping fuel and recommend delaying spacecraft batteries to internal. So our new T0 can be ported.
Concur, and LD concurs.
Roger.
Well, already we got some news there. ULA team is facing some issues of the dropping fuel, I guess that they said, and they are delaying a little bit. So I guess they will be delaying means they will be shifting the liftoff time from 7 p.m.
Make sure you're aware we're going to delay start of fuel fill sequence.
Affirmative.
Currently at T-minus 4 minutes, we are holding. The countdown has entered a planned hold point. We will remain in that pause to await improvement in the weather conditions as well. And as we just heard, there are some issues being faced by the ULA team.
Just heard from our
Still, it seems that the winds are high there. And would like to thanks Big
from our launch
T.
conductor on channel 1. We are standing by for a new T0. We'll bring you more information as soon as we have it.
So as I guess that we are now holding for a new T0 as the ULA team faced some issues with the fuel lines. And as I was mentioning, would like to thank Big T for subscribing us.
Right now, we're taking a live look at the Atlas V rocket on the launch pad. As the countdown continues, our team is taking the final steps in preparation for liftoff. The first stage, also known as the rocket's booster stage, is a large tank on the bottom that is actually two tanks, one filled with the RP-1 fuel and the other with the liquid oxygen. And the liquid oxygen is the super cold cryogenic propellant that turns the tank's exterior from bronze to that frosty white. And of course, with the rocket engine, we have the fuel and the oxidizer pumped super fast down in the engine. They mix in the combustion chamber, they're pushed out of the nozzle at super high speeds, and that's what gives the rocket its thrust.
That was perfect. That was a 30-second overview of rocket science right there. Atlas is also equipped with the Centaur upper stage, which drives the payload during the second phase of flight to its final orbital destination in space. The payload fairing, or PLF as we refer to it, completes the rocket and provides this aerodynamic shape necessary for the climb to space. On the upper stage in the PLF, we'll see the logos for Amazon, Atlas, and ULA, as well as the American flag. Let's learn more about how ULA builds the Atlas V rocket.
Well, guys, have to pause this audio feed over here. Although I just explained this same video as some few minutes ago. This video they are playing is having some copyrighted tracks which I can't play during the stream. So here we have Christine to join us from Maine. I hope you're doing well, Christine. Thanks for joining us. And please pardon me if I'm pronouncing your name in a different way. There are some accent gaps, so please don't mind it. And also Big T is joining us from Canada here. As we heard during the weather briefing few minutes ago, we are currently no-go for the cumulus crowd rule violations, but one positive side that came out. That is the liftoff wind violations are currently not applicable.
Today's mission is just the start of ULA launches to deliver Amazon's Kuiper satellites to orbit. Let's learn more about Project Kuiper and what they've been doing to prepare for offering internet connectivity from space.
Once again, I have to pause this audio. These tracks are copyrighted, so we can't make them to play on our stream as we don't possess the copyright of these tracks. Well, you guys can enjoy the view with the subtitles being on. Well, glad to know, Christine, that I could pronounce your name well. So I was describing previously the Centaur upper stage, which runs on liquid hydrogen and oxygen. It's powered by an RL-10A 4-2 engine, which is a descendant of the RL-10A rocket engine variant, which is now retired, and even the RL-10A 4-1 is retired. So as of now, RL-10A 4-2 is active and giving service, and this engine pumps out 22,600 pounds, that is 100.5 kilonewtons of thrust. Now in the core booster of the Atlas V, it's 12.5 foot, that is 3.8 meters in diameter, and stretches 106.5 feet, that is 32.5 meters long. Its rigid tanks are built from isogrid aluminum barrels, spun from formed domes, and intertank skirts. Power comes from the RD-180 engine, a single unit with two thrust chambers burning the RP1 and the liquid oxygen. RP1, as you guys will be familiar with, that it's the purest form of kerosene, for a hefty 8,60,200 pounds, that is 3.83 meganewtons of thrust at sea level, which can operate for about 4 minutes. The movement of engine nozzles are controlled by 4 hydraulic actuators, and the engine can be throttled from 47 degrees to 100 degrees of nominal thrust. And coming on to the 4 strap-on solid rocket boosters. These are 5 GEM 63 strap-on solid rocket boosters, which kicks off at liftoff, each adding 1.6 meganewtons of thrust for 94 seconds to get things moving. And these SRBs, also known as solid rocket boosters, can be of Aerojet's AJ-60A or Northrop Grumman's GEM 63. To be precise, the Aerojet's AJ-60A is not anymore applied, it's retired. So nowadays it's the Northrop Grumman's GEM 63 SRBs.
And we are awaiting the new T0.
And this Atlas V551 rocket, that is 551 stands for the rocket configuration, designated also as AV-107 for today's mission, stands 205 feet, that is 62.5 meter tall, and it's weighing right now 1.3 million pounds. Fully fueled for liftoff. It will lift the pad with 2.7 million pounds, that is 12 meganewtons of thrust from its main engine, and 5 solid rocket boosters to launch the Kuiper 1. Now currently we are waiting for a new T0, as we previously heard. Now the new launch director Eric Richards has instructed the team to coordinate a new target launch time of 7:40 p.m. Eastern Daytime, that is 23:40 hours UTC. And with the time passing by, we will be heading towards the end of the 2 hours launch window, and with that the probability of violation will also reduce from currently now being 80% to 60%.
LCRC, net 1.
RC.
We've coordinated the new T023:40 with the range, and it's been approved.
Roger.
Well, would like to welcome Lionheart Heroes for joining us for the webcast. Well, yes, it's currently stuck at 4 minutes, the countdown, and it is planned. Actually, ULA always have 2 planned hold during the pre-launch. I guess let me say you, yes, one is one at 15-minute pause, which is reserved prior to the fueling at T-2 hours, and another 15-minute hold prior to the terminal count at T-4 minutes.
LCAC net 1.
OAC.
Ready to provide an brief on the CLH2 tank pressure soft flow that was reported.
Roger. LD net 1.
LD.
Proceed.
Yeah, LC, so the team noticed an increase in tank pressure in the CLH2 tank that was simultaneous with the SRB cycle test going on. The pressure got a little higher than we intended it to, but the Flumon test took the appropriate action to bring the tank back down. We have no concerns for vehicle health or proceeding with today's operation. We'll document on the DR to address corrective action in the future and recommend proceeding.
LC concurs. LD.
LD concurs.
LC PE2. Go PNE2.
LH2 conditioning complete.
Roger.
I guess they said they will be bringing the tank down. Well, on the other hand, the new liftoff time is being posted on ULA's website. That is, it's 7:40 p.m. Eastern Daytime. That is 23:40 hours UTC. I hope they will be able to make it and we can see the launch. Well, yes, Big D, it's 100% success rate.
A new T0 of 7:40 p.m. Eastern Time. Our hold is extended due to weather, so let's get an update from Brian Cizik.
Thanks, guys. Yes, and currently we are no-go for the cumulus cloud rule. and we're also monitoring the winds at the ground level as well. So here's why we're no-go for the cumulus cloud roll. Notice these showers that are off the coast here. Now they're not directly over the launch pad, which is about right here, but because they're fairly tall, they could hold a charge. And actually, if they get to a certain level, the minus 20 Celsius level, it's a 10 nautical mile standoff from the launch pad and the flight path. So that's likely what we're dealing with here. These are pretty tall showers. So the launch weather team is monitoring this. We're watching the motion here. So notice that they are pushing to the south and maybe a little bit to the east. So if we could get these to push a little bit farther to the east and get outside of that 10 nautical mile range, we could potentially clear that cumulus cloud roll. Now we're also watching some more showers that are developing farther to the north. Now again, they look like they're trying to push a little bit farther to the east, but again, the team will be monitoring these other showers that are starting to come in from the north. And then if we switch to winds, this is the other weather factor that we're monitoring here tonight. So notice the red numbers here. So that is the gusts right along these our weather towers here at the Cape and KSC. We're monitoring the wind. So notice that the gusts are in the low to mid 30s. We're seeing some peaks miles per hour. So again, we're going to need some of those gusts to come down in addition to the showers pushing a little bit farther away from the launch pad. So those are the two factors. It does look like it is improving marginally as we go towards the end of the window. So again, the POV currently 80% at the opening of the window, but as we push later, it does look like it improves a little bit. So that's what the team's going to be watching. Again, as I mentioned, if we can find a gap in the weather and if we could find some good conditions, the launch weather team will give that go call. So guys, back to you.
Well, this time during the briefing, they didn't say that, didn't mention that the probability of violations will be getting down to 60%, which they just said a few minutes earlier in the previous weather briefing. Now, as I mentioned, that today's launch will follow a northeast trajectory. So as we heard during the weather forecast for the launch, currently the showers and the clouds are pushing a little bit towards the southeast. So that will be a positive thing for today's launch, and I hope they will be able to make it, because that won't be coming in the path or the trajectory for today's mission launch, which is a northeast. And currently, as mentioned in the weather briefing a couple of minutes ago, those tall showers and clouds on the way as of now is currently pushing towards southeast. So that's a good news. Also, they mentioned that the probability of violations will be decreasing, reaching towards the end of the launch window. We have a 2 hour of launch window for today's launch, and currently, well, it was 4:30, no? So we are just, yes, if we will be getting the lift-off time, the new one to be adjusted, let me just calculate. It's a little bit tricky. Means we are still will be having 1 hour and 20 minutes approximately in hand with the currently new provided T0, which is 7:40 p.m. Eastern Daytime. As you are watching a live view of the Atlas V rocket on the pad, Space Launch Complex 41, just let me give a little bit of information about the satellites. The satellites flying on the Kuiper-1 mission, also known as Kuiper Atlas 1, KA-01, represented a significant upgrade from the two prototype satellites successfully tested during their proto-flight mission back in October 2023. They mentioned that the performance of every system and subsystem on board have been improved, including the phased array antennas, processors, solar arrays, propulsion system, and the optical inter-satellite links. Additionally, the satellites are coated in a dielectric mirror film unique to Kuiper, which helps to scatter the reflected sunlight to help make them less visible to the ground-based astronomers. In case of Starlink, we know how it looks like, and we did saw the train of the Starlink patch on the sky. We can see that because those light from the sunlight are being reflected by the Starlink satellites.
LC, this is RLM11. Go RLM. The 4 Delta P values for LH2 are now back within band. Roger, you have a code to clear them. Active.
Would like to welcome Fairmaid, one of our moderators joining us here. Good morning, Fairmaid. I hope you are doing well. And yes, after a while, I could manage to make this stream, although still not feeling well. I thought to give it a try and I have to push myself
LC,
anyhow.
RLM11. Go RLM. Alarms have been acknowledged. Roger.
Now currently we are an extended hold at T-4 minutes due to unacceptable weather at Cape Canaveral, specifically the clouds and the winds that are beyond the safety limits. Hoping the conditions will improve to allow liftoff by 7:40 p.m. Eastern Daytime, 23:40 hours UTC, and today's launch opportunity lasts until 9 p.m. Eastern Daytime, that is 1 hours UTC on April 10th in case of UTC. Also, we came to this new adjusted liftoff time of 7:40 p.m. Eastern Daytime due to some issues being faced by the ULA team on the Atlas V launch vehicle. And I guess you guys will be familiar with this news that ULA's Vulcan Centaur rocket is now certified for national security space missions, and the United Launch Alliance won a Space Force contract for the continued critical launches, and for that we hope to see an increase in launch activity this year. Back in 2023 and 2024, ULA had 2 launches each. Well, SpaceX did manage to have most of the launches for them in the NSSL Phase 3 contract this year. Today's launch marks the 275th flight of the Centaur. This US-built upper stage is the high-energy hydrogen fuel rocket.
First step 660, Centaur LH2 is at 99.8% at 2310 Zulu.
Roger.
Well, I was saying that about the upper stage Centaur, which is a high-energy hydrogen fuel rocket that unlocked access to the moon and every planet in our solar system for robotic explorer spacecraft. Since successfully debuting in November 1963, Centaur makes it possible for the US to launch spacecraft of greater size and weight over other upper stage designs. Hydrogen serves as a different mark maker, offering more pounds of thrust per pound of propellant consumed per second than any other fuel possible in chemical rockets. The first operational payload launched by Centaur was Surveyor missions that sent landers to touch the lunar surface. Mariner missions went to Mars, Venus, and Mercury. Pioneer 10 went to Jupiter, and Pioneer 11 visited both Jupiter and Saturn. Next, we have the Vikings 1 and 2 launched to Mars. Voyager 1 and 2 explored the gas giants in our outer solar system. And one of my favorite, Cassini, orbited Saturn. The New Horizon flew by Pluto, and most recently the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, Curiosity rover, Maven orbiter, InSight lander, and the Perseverance rover all departed for the Red Planet thanks to this upper stage Centaur. So you can just sense the legacy of the Centaur is carrying with. Although the upper stage Centaur has evolved considerably from the early time, becoming more capable, more powerful, and more accurate, but the overall Centaur stage architecture today is fundamentally the same as the versions flown in the early 60s. The Centaur is still powered by the very reliable proven RL-10 engine. Centaur has flown on numerous Atlas and Titan rocket configuration, and the new Centaur 5 successfully debuted last year on the Vulcan rocket, which currently got the certification for the national payload launches. Yes, we will be having some update in a while.
LC Fuel 2.
Go Fuel 2.
First up 700, Centaur LH2 has been above 99.8% for 5 minutes.
Roger. PNA2, LC.
Go ahead, Pete. Go ahead, LC.
Perform Centaur LH2 SRB cycle test.
Roger.
Well, Big D, indeed, it's amazing the legacy for the Centaur. And not about the longevity of the Voyager, you can consider Cassini there as well. New Horizon is not like comparable, less comparable. Like all are like what can I say? They are marvel of engineering and really what results they gave. Actually, previously on our channel, we used to provide this kind of deep space videos, but finally we switched to stream the launch coverages. To me personally, actually both are two separate things and we can compare.
Go PNA2. Centaur Cryo SEV cycle test is complete.
Roger. OSLC.
Visualize.
Perform data transfer to backup CCLS.
Roger.
As I was saying, the comparing a rocket launch with a deep space concepts and videos is like it will be a fool's idea to do so. Both have its own excitement and what can I say, like to have a more inclinations for each of them. But for me personally, I love more about the deep space concepts and videos because they make me to wonder more about things, how things can be, because there is no limitation as of now. Like you can think what it can be, yes, within a limit, like within a frame of thinking, not like arbitrarily thinking something. But yes, rocket launches are fun too. Well, with Starship we can say that it's extremely good. And yes, this year we did saw the New Glenn, and I guess the New Glenn's what it was, landing failure investigation is being completed as well. So I think soon they will be returning with the next certification flight for the New Glenn.
Oh, minus 20 minutes.
LC, LOX 1.
Go LOX 1.
Atlas LO2 remains at flight level.
Roger.
LC LOX 2.
Go.
Centaur LO2 at flight level.
Roger.
LC Fuel 2.
Go Fuel 2.
Centaur LH2 at flight level.
Roger.
Right now, all 3 cryogenic tanks on the rocket has been topped off to the flight level, as you just heard from the Capcom.
LC, this is LD on 1.
Go LD.
Please coordinate a new T0 of 00:03.
Roger. 0003.
Good copy. Thank you.
ALC. LC.
Go ahead.
Please set the clock for a new T0 0003.
Roger.
RC. LC.
RCN 1.
Please coordinate with the range a new T0 of 0003.
Roger, Wilco.
LD. LC. At 1.
LD.
Yeah, LD, our launch vehicle issues are resolved. We are just currently red on winds at this time.
Thank you, LC.
That's a good news that the issues on the launch vehicle has been resolved.
LC,
But
contact clock has been set for a new T0.
we have a new T0 right now, which is
For our new T0, L count is L minus 41 minutes.
right now we are T minus 41 minutes.
SCI,
It's
LC.
once again delayed.
This is SC on 1, filling in for SCI.
Okay, yeah, just want to make sure where the T0 change.
Yep, they copied that.
Roger.
So this will be, I guess, 8:03 p.m. Eastern Time. So with all three cryogenic tanks being topped off to flight level, that gives us a fully fueled rocket to launch today. Launch vehicle issues being resolved. Currently, they are just waiting for this.
And as you just heard, we do have a new T0 of 8:03 p.m. Eastern Time. We will remain in a hold due to weather and resume the show as soon as possible when we are closer to launch.
LC, RC, channel 1.
Go RC.
The range has approved our new T0 of 00:03 Zulu.
Roger.
It's a good news coming up there that the cloud cover is now acceptable. So I think we are getting towards the good side for the favorable condition of the launch for today. Now just continuing to wait on the winds, because previously the cumulus cloud rule and the liftoff wind was the major concerns and the probability of violations for today's launch. Now, as discussed earlier by the 45th Weather Squadron, they did say the clouds near the coast are having a tendency to move towards the southeast, and I think it happened, and that's why the cloud cover is now acceptable. I just saw a blue screen on the live stream. It's a humble request to you guys that if you face any technical issues happening during the stream, please don't hesitate to inform me so that I can rectify it as soon as possible and let you to enjoy the stream. Once again, just to remind you guys, About the flight profile for today's Kuiper 1 mission. Following the final confirmation of the rocket readiness from the mission control team, the RD-180 engine and the 5 GEM 63 solid rocket boosters will ignite to produce more than 2 million pounds of thrust, lifting ULA's Atlas V rocket. Shortly after liftoff, the rocket begins a pitch over to attain the proper flight path while minimizing the maximum dynamic stress the vehicle experiences during the flight, also known as the max Q. Atlas then reaches Mach 1, the speed of sound. The addition of the 5 solid rocket boosters, or the SRBs, precisely augments the liftoff thrust of the Atlas V, giving it the power to deliver the payload to orbit. With their propellant expired approximately 96 seconds into the ascent, the SRB, the solid rocket boosters, will burn out, followed by the jettison of them. Atlas V's guidance system then begins steering towards the precise target in space. Amazon's Kuiper satellites are enclosed inside a 5-meter diameter payload fairing, which provides protection to the spacecraft during ascent. After crossing the Kármán line and entering the space, the payload fairing will be jettisoned, and with the majority of the propellant expended fighting against the force of gravity, the RD-180 engine shut down at that stage and the booster stage separates. The rocket then begins second stage flight, weighing less than 7% of what it did at liftoff. ULA's High Performance Centaur, with its RL-10 engine, which is RL-10 4-2 to be precise. Well, is it so? Or am I saying it wrong? Yes, it's so RL-10 4-2. Just a second, guys. I was talking with the mic turned off. Sorry guys, I forgot that the mic I turned it off during this hiccup I faced with this light. I made it on automation. Anyways, I was saying about the flight profile for the today's Kuiper 1 mission, and where I was left with the after the RD-180 engine shut down, the booster stage separates. The rocket then begins the second stage flight, weighing less than 7% of what it did at liftoff. ULA's high-performance Centaur, with its RL-10 engine, ignites, powering the upper stage and spacecraft into a low Earth orbit, approximately 280 miles, which is 450 kilometers, and with an inclination of 51.9 degrees. This is the orbit on which the deployment will happen, but the operational orbit is of 392 miles, that is 630 kilometers. Now the first burn comes to an end with engine shutdown, followed by Centaurs orienting into proper position to release Amazon's Project Kuiper satellites. Once the satellites have successfully separated from the rocket, they will begin a series of mostly automated steps to activate onboard systems and use their electric propulsion systems to gradually ascend to their assigned orbit, that is, as mentioned before, 392 miles, which is 630 kilometers, and the satellites will travel at a speed of more than 17,000 miles per hour on orbit and circle the planet approximately every 90 minutes, which is kind of similar to the International Space Station. While Starlink operates at approximately 550 kilometers, today's payload, the Kuiper satellites, will orbit slightly higher at 630 kilometers. But as mentioned before, this whole constellation of the Kuiper satellites is to be placed in 98 orbital planes in 3 orbital layers, one at 590 kilometers, next one is at 610 kilometers, and the rest one, which today Atlas V will be targeting for the Kuiper satellites to attain, is the 630 kilometers of altitude. Would like to welcome Ron Mensch for joining us, subscribing us with the kind support for our channel. Welcome, Ron. I hope you will be enjoying the stream and we could meet your expectations for the streams. Yes, I made no issues. You are there, that much I'm happy for. Actually, I texted you something on X, and after that didn't got time to head back to the to X to go through the conversation, as I was trying to deviate my mind with this launch so that I can somehow forget those things. Yes, Remit, actually, I was a little bit feeling suffocating, being continuously thinking the same thing. I was in a kind of a loop, but finally gave up and thought that no, I have to move on. One who has to leave has already left, and I can't do anything for that. And I did saw that image you shared. Actually, it didn't like I'm not at all offended with that. You did say that whether I'm offended with that, but actually that's another way to see the situation. And to like actually to others, I'm just having a little bit of apology. I'm referring to Pyramid. Actually, what that image you sent, it was a little bit relating to this case. My uncle's demise previously, just last year, like 2 years ago, yes, it was 3 years ago. Recently, my another grandfather died, but 3 years ago, his father died, and long ago, his mother died. So I guess they will be have a reunion there as uncle left us. So that image was quite relatable for me. So anyways, let's give up on these thoughts. Again, I will be getting in a loop, staying here on the stream. So we got an update. Currently, the weather conditions in the local Cape Canaveral area remain unfavorable for a launch at this time. The launch team is ready to resume the countdown for the liftoff as soon as 8:03 p.m. Eastern Daytime. That is 0003 UTC if weather improves. Lastly, we did got to know that the cloud covers are acceptable. Only the lift of wind is the issue. Well, pardon me, Big D. I just overlooked you texted something on the chat. Well, yes, the sky is looking a little bit towards the favorable side. And about the golden record, yes, it is one of the I like that idea really, and I guess you heard all the tracks. consisted in that golden record. I have a whole like complete box set of it for the golden record, not physically, softly. I hope I could have a golden record in a physical copy of that. And actually, I was looking into that golden record during that all those audio clippings that are where my language they will be saying, and of course those other languages where I was able to understand. Not all the language I am knowing. I know, sorry. So
20 minutes.
we just heard the call out for T minus 20 minutes.
LC, this is LD on 1.
Go, LD.
Please coordinate a new T0 of 00 colon 22.
Roger, 0022 Zulu.
Good copy.
ALC, LC.
Go ahead.
Please set the clock for a new T00022 Zulu.
Roger.
RC, LC.
RC on 1.
So
Please coordinate with the range.
we got a new
0022 Zulu.
liftoff time.
Roger, welcome.
It's now 8:22 p.m. Eastern Day Time, which is 0022 hours UTC. I guess these delays are due to the weather conditions, because as of now
Contact clock has been set for new T0 of 0022 Zulu.
Roger. All right, for the team, we're at L minus 37 minutes.
Well, as I was saying that as of now we didn't heard any vehicle issues coming up right at this time during these conversations going on the Capcom. So
LCRC, that one.
RC.
Roger, the new T000 colon 22 has been coordinated approved by the range.
Roger.
So this delay in the liftoff time is, oh yes, it's the reason I was guessing that we are currently holding up for the cumulus cloud rule and winds. So the delays we are witnessing in the liftoff time is due to the weather issues, no vehicle issues as of now. So with this new liftoff time, as mentioned, 8:22 p.m. Eastern Day Time, which is 0022 hours UTC, we will be having 38 more minutes in today's launch window, which will be ending at 9 p.m. Eastern Day Time, 1 hours UTC. And Big D, yes, let me come back from where I left about the golden record. So I purposely acquired the .flag format of the golden record so that I will be having and preserving it in the most good audio quality ever. And about this launch, as you are saying, yes, better safe than to be sorry. But why ULA even? It's my again personal opinion that why they even attempted it, because there was really like, as of now, I'm just saying there is really like very less chance to have a liftoff. because previously West 45th Weather Squadron gave 45% probability of violation, which rose to 60%. Sorry, excuse me, 80%. Now we are still with the 80%, but declining towards the end of the launch window. But I think it won't be favorable enough to have the launch towards the launch window, because previously during the weather briefing they said it can go up like up to 60%, reduce up to 60% probability of violation from 80 to 60. So still it's 40% favorable weather conditions if we consider the 60%. Oh, anyways, but we got to see a little bit of the Atlas V standing gracefully on the pad. And yes, Fairmade, it's windy there. Actually, that was one of the, not was, it is still one of the launch weather constraint violation for today. I'm just sharing this with you guys. An issue I'm facing with this visiting the 45th Weather Squadron web page. I don't know. Every time I'm going to their web page, the browser is saying you are being redirected too many times. Try clearing your cookies and this stuff. I don't know whether this is happening with anyone else. If yes, please, I will be happy to know more about this from you guys, or else I will be able to understand that this is an issue towards my end, because I did tried every possible way to figure it out, but still it is happening. No matter I change the devices, like connectivity from router to cellular or anything, any possible way to solve it, but I couldn't. Well, if you are saying that, then I think maybe there will be some issues for the geological constraint. I think geographical, excuse me, I'm saying geological. Well, we got an update that the cumulus cloud are still violating the eastern portion of 10 miles ring around the launch site. Winds also remains elevated above the sea liftoff limit. Actually, for that issue I'm facing with the 45th Weather Squadron website, I can't even track the weather details from being published by them. Well, just now I'm discussing this with you, Big Day. It came to me, let me try the VPN. Maybe using the VPN it can let me do, because I didn't try that. as we are having this view while it went away of those solid rocket boosters, and currently we are having the view of the Atlas V rocket. Let me just go through the exciting milestones for this mission. This will be ULA's 160th overall launch and their first of 2025. This will also mark the 93rd Atlas V rocket launch to date and the first of 2025. Plus it will be the 102nd Atlas V launch overall and the second ULA mission dedicated to Amazon's Project Kuiper.
Welcome back. We're joining you from ULA's Advanced Spaceflight Operations Center here at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. We're continuing to work to our new T0 of 8:22 p.m. Eastern Time.
Yeah, and there are a lot of things that go into planning a new T0. Vehicle readiness, waiting for weather like we are right now, launch vehicle looks good. One of the other things that we always look at is collision avoidance, or as we abbreviate it, COLAs. And in this case, you might wonder, how do we end up with an 8:22 p.m. or before that it was an 8:03 p.m. And that's really because we're always planning to make sure that when we launch, there's nothing else in the area as we get up on orbit that we're not having any sort of chance of coming even close to anything else on orbit. So we always time our launches to make sure that we're launching at a time where we don't have any issues with a collision in space. And so that's really why we ended up with an 8:22 p.m. T0 for tonight.
That's great. It's like we're organizing a great space dance between intergalactic traffic and making sure that everybody's in the right place at the right time. So we're lucky that we have our launch coordinators on top of that, and we're working towards the new T0 of 8:22 Eastern Time. So as we remain in this hold due to weather, as we mentioned, let's check back in with Launch Weather Officer Brian Sizek.
Thanks, guys. And unfortunately, we haven't seen the weather trend as favorably as we were hoping. So let's take a live look at radar right now. You can see there's this stubborn convergent band of showers that's remaining just inside our 10 nautical mile ring from the launch pad, which is about right here. And so some of these clouds are getting above the minus 20 Celsius altitude, which is over 20,000 feet. And because of that, they have to be outside of the 10 nautical mile ring from the launch pad. So you can see we were hoping they'd push a little bit further to the east, but they've almost trended a little bit further to the west, closer to the pad. So that's why we haven't been able to clear this cumulus cloud rule. Again, those clouds could have electrification that could potentially trigger a lightning strike. So that's why this rule exists, to prevent a rocket-triggered lightning strike. And we're also monitoring the winds as well. So it's the cumulus cloud rule and elevated winds. So you can see we are maybe seeing a little bit of a drop down in some of these wind speeds. We are still seeing a few gusts in the low 30s, but a lot now getting into the 20s. So maybe trending down a little bit in the winds, but we're going to need that trend to continue. So we're still watching those showers just off the coast, and we need these winds to come down as well. So guys, we'll be watching, and again, if we can get the weather to clear, the launch weather team will find that opportunity and call the go call. Back to you.
Thanks, Brian. Here we've got a live shot of Jetty Beach. So we have a lot of beachgoers out there sitting on the sands and taking their time to hopefully view a launch later this evening.
Yeah, and even though we would have loved to launch at the opening of the window, you know, as the sun goes down, it does make for some really spectacular launches, especially with those 5 SRBs. If we launch tonight, these folks are going to think the sun is coming up. It's going to be so bright.
Definitely. Well, now we're taking a live look at the mighty Atlas V on the pad. It's really crazy to think about that all 27 Kuiper satellites are tucked in nicely into that PLF.
It is, and it's not just any PLF. It's the largest one we fly today. It's 77 feet tall. like you said, all 27 Kuipers in there. And then again, with the 5 SRBs, this really is the largest Atlas configuration that we currently have in our fleet today. And so it's going to be really rocking when we launch. It's going to shake the whole building as it flies, as it lifts off.
Definitely. We're all maxed out on SRBs. You can have a configuration change of either 1 to 5. And each of these SRBs are adding 375,000 pounds of thrust. So when you combine that with the main engine, you get almost 2.7 million pounds at liftoff.
And we just saw the SRBs there. Now we're looking at an engine shot. You can see the 2 engine bells of the RD-180 as well as those 5 SRB nozzles just hanging out right under our mobile launch platform. And a lot of smoke and fire going down into that flame trench as soon as all that ignites on at T0.
Oh, definitely. You'll hear us say we have ignition, and then the whole frame will light up. You'll see all that fire and smoke come out, and then hopefully we'll see a grand Atlas liftoff into the horizon.
And now the boil off. You know, again, we talked about the liquid oxygen, the cryogenic fuel, both on the booster as well as the upper stage being both liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen. And so those are cryogenic. They're, you know, -200 to -450 degrees Fahrenheit. So at those temperatures, it boils here in Florida at room temperature. It's 70 so outside. And so you're seeing that boil off. So we are constantly replenishing those propellants. They're constantly boiling off, and to keep the tanks full, we're just adding more and more throughout the hold here to make sure that when we lift off, we are fully fueled and ready to go.
Oh, yeah.
ALC. Oh. Countdown clock has
We've just heard from our mission control that we now have a new T0. The new T0 is 8:39 Eastern Time.
Well, Big D, we are grateful to have you with us, and really it feels satisfying when our work is a little bit helpful to someone and someone gets a little bit of more knowledge out of that. So we are glad that you felt so about those insights we shared.
Tonight, so we do have window remaining, even with
And
the T0
thanks
being
for
rescheduled due to the weather delay.
subscribing to us.
Looking at a live look at the launch control center here,
And we will feel better if you are there with us,
watch their data
of course.
throughout the hold and monitor the vehicle as we proceed through the weather delay.
There's nothing like being on console, Caleb. You really get this excitement of sitting there, all of the tension and all of the hard work that's really cultivated to this moment here. You know, everyone's focused.
But no issues, you carry on with your
new T0 due to weather, and it's never quite like the excitement of launch.
podcast you are saying about.
Absolutely.
So I'm here only. I'm just following the launch.
You know, sometimes you gotta just wait for things out of your control, like the weather, which is what we're doing tonight. But
when comfortable, you can visit us.
And ready to go if that weather window opens up tonight.
Well, we did got a new launch window, so let's see whether if they will be able to launch today or not. I think they are getting closer more.
Feel the whole building shaking. You really hear that power
with 21 minutes, I guess. Yes, 21 minutes left from the launch window as of today, which will be ending at 9 p.m. Eastern Daytime.
Yeah. And we're now looking at the Mission Director Center. So we have our Amazon customer as well as our space.
Currently, we are having the new launch window time of 8:39 p.m. Eastern Daytime.
What our new T0
0039 hours UTC.
Proceeding through the count and doing all of the final polls and giving that final go up till launch, as well as our Engineering Support Center here in the ASOC.
with just 21 minutes being left from today's launch window.
LC, RC, channel 1.
Go RC.
The range has approved our new T0 at 00:39.
Roger.
There is approval from the range for the new launch time of 8:39 p.m. Eastern Daytime. As we heard from the recent weather briefing from the 45th Weather Squadron member, as expected, the weather is not turning out to be like that, and the cumulus cloud are violating the eastern portion of 10-mile ring around the launch site.
This is Atlas Mission Control at T-minus 4 minutes and holding. ULA's new Vulcan rocket was recently certified by the U.S. Space Force to launch critical missions for the U.S. government. Let's take a look back at the Vulcan certification flights.
Please, I beg your pardon that I have to pause the audio over here because these videos they are playing, they have copyrighted tracks. Can't play them over here as we don't possess the copyright of those tracks, but you can enjoy the view on your screen. There's the Vulcan certification flight. As I mentioned before, that Vulcan got the certification for the National Security Space Mission, as well as recently United Launch Alliance winning a Space Force contract for continued critical launches. So with that, one can hope to see an increase in the launch activity this year from ULA, as in case of last 2 years, that is 2023 and 2024, ULA could manage only 2 launches each. So hopefully this year we will be having some more launches, and the ULA have plenty of missions in their hand. In this case only they are having 46 launches for the Kuiper constellation to develop. Moreover, this national security launches, so if they could maintain a good fast-paced launch cadence, we will be having this year at least a good amount of launches being made by ULA. Now this Project Kuiper is an ambitious deployment campaign, which is a part of an effort to catch up with SpaceX's Starlink broadband network, which already has more than 7,000 satellites in orbit and 5 million subscribers. Meanwhile, Eutelsat OneWeb is also going after the market for the internet service provided by the satellites in low Earth orbit and many small other providers working in the same field for providing internet service. As mentioned earlier, Kuiper has 46 launches booked with ULA. They has also purchased 18 launches on Ariane's Space's Ariane 6 rocket, plus 12 launches on Blue Origin's New Glenn rocket, with options to add another 15 on top of that, and 3 launches on SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket. Well, this breakdown is tentative. It's not, I can say, like, to be like finalized as of now. But yes, about the Kuiper having 46 launches with ULA, that is finalized. They already made the deal.
This is Atlas Mission Control. We have plenty of exciting launches coming up here in 2025, but 2024 had a memorable year for ULA. Along with 2 Vulcan launches, we launched humans for the first time with the first crewed flight test. We celebrated our 100th national security launch with the USSF 51 mission and said goodbye to the Delta vehicle with our final Delta IV heavy liftoff carrying NROL 70. Let's take a look back at these very exciting missions.
Once again, I have to turn off the audio, guys. Well, the Delta IV heavy launch was a memorable one, and it did made some tears to take place on my eyes that time, that no more this vehicle we will be able to have. As of now, we got a new recent update. The cumulus cloud rule is violating when the rocket would fly through or too close to a cumulus cloud. The exact standoff limits are determined by the cloud top temperature, with colder clouds requiring the rocket to stay a further distance away to guard against rocket-triggered lightning. In tonight's case, as mentioned before, it is just a 10-mile zone. So it is quite risky as of now. Previously, they were providing some audio feed from the pad, but now that is not there. Don't know why. Maybe the winds are too high there. Currently, we are holding for a liftoff time, which is newly adjusted at 8:39 p.m. Eastern Daytime, which is 0039 hours UTC, for the launch of ULA's Atlas V rocket on Kuiper 1 mission, launching 27 Kuiper satellites to low Earth orbit.
This is Atlas Mission Control with T-minus 4 minutes and holding. Atlas rockets have launched many of the world's vital space assets. Let's take a look at the impressive legacy of the Atlas family of rockets.
They are playing with their old videos, but anyways, it's not bad to relive those moments once again. But unfortunately, we can't play the audio feed of these videos for you guys. It would have been more fascinating to hear these rockets with their roars, but they have the copyrighted tracks contained in them, so for that we can't play them for you guys. But according to the trend of the launch cadence of the ULA, it seems like the current terms of the license Kuiper got from the Federal Communications Commission, they are due to launch 3,236 Kuiper satellites by 2029, with half of those satellites going into orbit by mid 2026. So what I was saying, that with the current trend of the ULA's launch cadence, on top of that they have those more launches being purchased from Ariane Space's Ariane 6 rocket. Blue Origin's New Glenn rocket will be also used to launch 12 set 12 batches of the Kuiper satellites. So keeping in mind with the current scenario, Ariane Space's conditions is not so much favorable that they will be providing a rapid fast launch cadence. Is the same case for the Blue Origin's New Glenn as well. They are still yet to get done with their second certification flight, although Ariane Space did had their second flight, and this one lastly they have was with the Ariane Space Ariane 6 with Ariane 62 rocket variation for a French defense satellite, which also marked the first commercial launch of the Ariane 6. Only in this case, the remaining is the SpaceX, but with that we know how the relationship is for the Jeff Bezos, and so SpaceX, they are trying to have 3 launches on SpaceX to complete this goal of launching 3,236 Kuiper satellites. But in this case, we are today having 27 Kuiper satellites to launch. I guess in other, like if they have to fulfill that target by 2029, either they have to increase the number of satellites on each launch, or else the only possible way is to have a fast, rapid launch cadence for them to have. So already today we are having 27 Kuiper satellites to launch, which is the most heaviest payload ever flown on Atlas V to date. Which this record was previously held by Juno mission. Now imagine how much more they can add to this number of 27 which they are adding, because else I think they should be using the Falcon Heavy, but I don't know Falcon Heavy how many they will be having the payload accommodation for the Kuiper satellites. But yes, it won't be able to happen in case of like to increase more than 27 at least on Falcon 9. And in between, if New Glenn will be getting into the picture, then okay, then you can say that there is still a chance to complete the constellation by 2029, because it's already 2025. You can say it's the beginning of the year, so they have only 4 years in their hand. Although 4 years is not less, and their target is not so much big as well. It's only 3,232 satellites. But yes, they have to have half of those satellites going into orbit by mid 2026. So in that case, it's only 1.5 years left. As of now, we are not receiving any more updates regarding the weather.
Set the clock for a new T0 of 00590.
Roger.
RC, LC.
Go for RC.
Please coordinate with the range new T0 of...
We have a new launch window or lift-off time. And I guess it's 8:59, so it's just, yes, it's 8:59 p.m. Eastern Daytime, 00:59 hours UTC. That is the
Countdown clock has been set.
very end of the available launch window today.
Roger.
But they still continue to hope the weather situation will clear.
7 minutes.
But in case we won't be having a launch today, tomorrow there is no such.
Go.
Yeah, we've run into a slight issue where we've lost connection with the VNC on the laptop. It appears that the server is still running on the desktop in the lower PEB. There's been no interruption of ASGAS scanning. We're going to go through some steps such as closing out, restarting the VNC, or switching networks to see if we can get that connection back.
All right, yeah, and so are we getting data?
We are still getting data, yes.
Roger that. Okay, report to me when you're complete with your investigation.
Copy.
Already we are struggling with the weather. for the liftoff. Meanwhile, we got this news heard from the Capcom with the launch director that they have some minor issues with the disconnection with the VNC and
RC. Range has approved our new T0 of 00:59. Roger.
so there's a confirmation from the range that the new T0, that is the launch time, is being accepted. That is 8:59 p.m. Eastern Daytime, 00:59 hours UTC. Coming close to the available launch window for today, which will end at 9 p.m. Eastern Daytime, 1 hours UTC. And as per the previous weather report received from 45th Weather Squadron, if we won't be having the launch today, tomorrow there will be no such issues from at least from the weather, and it's 90% go for tomorrow.
And as you heard a moment ago, we do have a new T0 of 8:59 Eastern. We've pushed to the end of the window to see if we can get that weather to open up for us. So let's go get another check from Launch Weather Officer Brian Sizik.
Thanks, guys. And we still have not seen a great trend, but the best chance we have to get this weather to clear is at the end of the window. So that's why the launch team, they've been in communication with the launch weather team that is on console right now, and they are obviously monitoring the situation very closely. But again, here is what we've been dealing with all night, really. We have this convergent band of showers, that north to south oriented band that's moving. Kind of the whole line is pushing a little bit to the south. Now, we were hoping it would push farther off to the east, but notice it's progressed a little bit closer to the pad. But there's actually another way that we can clear this cumulus cloud roll, and that's if the tops of these showers get lower and the showers begin to dissipate. So the two ways, they could either push farther away from the pad, or they could weaken, where if the tops get low enough, that standoff distance actually gets smaller and smaller. So in other words, they can be farther away from the pad, or excuse me, they can get closer to the pad, and if the showers are weaker, then we don't have to be concerned about them. So those are the two ways that we could clear the cumulus cloud roll. We're also monitoring the winds as well, and as we take a live look at some of the winds we're seeing, notice we're still seeing winds in the upper 20s to low 30s miles per hour. These are gusts at the surface. The launch pad is right around here, so we're also monitoring winds up a few hundred feet as well. So again, the two things we need to clear that the launch weather team is going to be monitoring up until the wire here at our last T0 in the window, the cumulus cloud roll and the winds. Guys, back to you.
Thank you, Brian.
I just turned off the camera for you guys to have a greater view of the weather map and to understand what it's falling from there. I guess it's...
This is Atlas Mission Control with T-minus 4 minutes and holding. Following liftoff, viewers watching the launch from Florida and points north and east might be able to see the Atlas V in flight. Let's get a closer look at the visibility map. Check it out at ULA Launch on social media.
As we heard from the weather briefing from the 45th Weather Squadron, still the chances are not so much favorable, but yes, they are keeping their hopes up. And the weather situation might clear as we are getting near to the launch window with only 1 minute left.
T-minus 4 minutes and holding. ULA also launches Vulcan rockets here in Cape Canaveral, Florida. Let's take a look around.
I guess ULA got inspired from Blue Origin. The day Blue Origin made their first New Glenn launch to be scrubbed, they had nothing to do. They were playing some random videos. At least provide us the live view feed. It's not bad. Well, these are not bad yet. I'm feeling bad for you guys that I can't patch in the audio for during these videos. They are playing due to the copyright issues we might be facing, as we don't own the copyright of these tracks of the music and the audio they are playing during these videos they are showing to us. Today's launch will be ULA's 160th overall launch and the first of 2025. This will also mark the 93rd Atlas V launch to date and the first of 2025. Additionally, it will be the 102nd Atlas V launch overall and the second ULA mission dedicated to Amazon's Project Kuiper, making it the first operational satellite deployment for that project. Previously, they had one launch for Amazon Project Kuiper that was a proto flight, which launched 2 test satellites for this project, and that mission went successful. The launch is set to take off from Space Launch Complex 41, which will make it ULA's 84th orbital launch from that pad and the 130th orbital launch from Space Launch Complex 41 overall. This year, as of now, we saw 3 new rockets to debut: New Glenn, Long March 8A and Spectrum. Well, Spectrum was quite a thrilling one. Initially, they didn't plan the webcast, but finally, after our several requests on their social media handles, they finally took the effort, and unfortunately I couldn't make it, and I hope and I guess that there are many today joining us are from that day when they got to know us, AstroYonder. That day we did crossed 1,500 mark of people waiting for the webcast. So as the protoflight of the Kuiper project, in which they launched 2 prototype satellites and which went successfully back in October 2023. Today's launch, they mentioned that the performance of every system and subsystem on board has been improved, including phased array antennas, processors, solar arrays, propulsion systems, and optical intersatellite links. Additionally, the satellites are coated in a dielectric mirror film, which is unique to Kuiper, which scatters the reflected sunlight to help make them less visible to the ground-based astronomer. Actually, the satellites being launched nowadays are creating issues for the astronomers and the ground-based observatories, as they are reflecting lights from the sunlight, which creates confusion and many data errors for their observations being made. So for this reason, this new initiative they took it this time to have the satellites coated in a dielectric mirror film so that they can scatter the sunlight. We did saw the train of the Starlink satellites in various viral videos. This could be that can be possible only because of that sunlight being reflected by the Starlink satellite solar panels. Once again, those of you who are not familiar with the naming convention of the Atlas V rocket, as the title mention of this stream, it's
This is Atlas Mission Control at T-minus 4 minutes and holding. We continue to be in a weather delay. ULA continues to make numerous changes to our factory and launch pads to prepare for an increased launch cadence. The team recently finished assembling a new Vulcan launch platform, or VLP-A, inside a new vertical integration facility, or VIF-A. The A in the acronyms designates Amazon, as these facilities will be used to support Amazon launches. VLP-A will travel along a newly renovated rail system between VIF-A and Space Launch Complex 41 to enable seamless transport of overlapping launch campaigns.
Well, about that VIF-A which they are mentioning, Tori Bruno did posted a picture of that on X on its handle. So what I was saying that those of you who are not familiar with the naming convention of the Atlas V rocket, as the title of the stream, and as well as you guys will be knowing that it's 551 rocket variation of the Atlas V rocket. So let me just break it down for you. That the first digit here, which is 5, represents the diameter of the payload fairing in meters. Options are 4 for the 400 series or 5 for the 500 series, accommodating different payload sizes. The second digit indicates the number of strap-on solid rocket boosters, also known as SRBs, attached to the common core booster, which is also known as CCB.
We just received a weather briefing from Brian. Let's toss it over to him so we can hear some more details.
Thanks, guys. Yes, we did just get a weather briefing from the lead launch weather officer on this mission, my colleague Brian Belson. So what he briefed the launch team is we are watching this line of showers. We're getting new radar scans about every 5 minutes or so. and we're watching to see, are these cloud tops coming down at all? Also, are they remaining connected? Because if they're connected, you kind of have to treat the whole line as one and then just use the closest point to the pad. But if we can find some breaks in that line and the taller cloud tops aren't connected to the ones that are closest to the launch pad right here, then we could potentially get out of that violation as well. So we are still no-go for the cumulus cloud rule, but we're watching these new radar scans coming in to see if we could potentially clear it. So he gave an 80% probability of violation, so that's a 20% chance of go by the end of the window and our last T0. But again, there still is a little bit of hope, and that's what we're watching. We need these cloud tops to come down, or we need to see a little break in the connection here where we could potentially get out of the violation that way. So that's what the launch weather team is tracking. This is a minute-by-minute thing that we're monitoring. We're waiting for the new radar scans to come in, and that's what the team is watching, in addition to the winds as well. Guys, back to you.
Thank you, Brian. We've been talking to you for a lot of the times tonight, so we always appreciate the weather updates and keeping all of our team here at the LCC and watching all informed. So we're still sitting here at T-minus 4 minutes and counting. To celebrate
Seems to be not so much favorable. The weather conditions will be at the end of the launch window as well. As they mentioned, it will be having still 80% probability of violation at the very last minute of the launch window that we are having as our new T0, that is a launch time. But still they are, as they mentioned, that they are tracking the conditions with the iterative radar scans, so that if they will be finding any gap through that cloud, through those clouds being not connected as one, so in between that, if they can manage. But in this case, it's getting now instantaneous launch window, because 1 minute to go, and also weather conditions are not such favorable that we will be able to see clearly that we can launch it for sure as of now, because it's 80% probability at the end of the launch window as well. 80% of probability of violation, excuse me, at the end of the launch window. So what I was saying about the naming convention for the Atlas V rocket, for the first digit, it represents the diameter of the payload fairing in meters. Options are 4 for the 400 series and the 500 series. It's 5, accommodating payloads as per requirements of the customers. Second digit indicates the number of strap-on solid rocket boosters, also known as SRBs, attached to the common core booster. This ranges from 0 to 3 for the 400 series and 0 to 5 for the 500 series, boosting thrust as needed. The
LC,
third digit.
LD on 1.
Go LD.
I am directing a launch scrub for today's operations. Please proceed with preparations for an extended turnaround with the next launch attempt under review.
Roger, LD. All right, team, direct operation 60, or excuse me.
So guys, that's a scrub for today. We were just aiming for 1 minute left from during the 2-hour launch window, which opened at 7 p.m. Eastern Daytime, extending to 9 p.m. Eastern Daytime. And currently we were targeting 8:59 p.m. Eastern Daytime for the launch of Atlas V for Kuiper-1 mission. But we just heard the call out from the Capcom directions being instructed by the launch director to prepare for the scrub operations. So with that, we will be wrapping up the stream as well. Well, I couldn't finish what I was saying about the naming convention. Let's see the next launch date when we will be having, and this time I will make sure to make the stream a little bit earlier so that I could provide more better insights about the launch. Thanks Big D for joining us and liking our insights. Felt satisfying that we could make something out of our research and things. Also would like to thank Fairmade for joining us.
It is confirmed that we will not
Fairmade, unfortunately you couldn't have the launch to see today.
Partners at the U.S. Space Force Space
Would like to thank Ron Mensch for subscribing us and supporting us. Would like to have you
I'm Caleb Weiss
on our next stream.
Thanks for joining us today.
Also like to thanks Christian for joining us, and Big D once again, thanks for joining us. So yep, with that we will wrap up our coverage for now, but before that want to thank you for wherever you are watching our live coverage. And yes, don't forget to check out this video. Also you can check out our channel page for the new stream of Kuiper 1 mission being launched by Atlas V rocket. We will be streaming that as well. We can't do this broadcast without you. Thank you for your continued support for what we do here at AstroYonder. Be sure to check out our social media handle on X for the latest happenings in the space industry and updates on the upcoming launches. The link is on the chat. And yep, would like to mention that I was a bit inactive during a couple of past days, so don't mind that. We'll be active from now on. Now, hope you enjoyed the stream. We appreciate everyone joining us for today's launch. Wishing you a nice week ahead. This is AstroYonder Live and me, Dipto. Sign off for now, and we will see you next time.